Welcome to the Indiana Department of Education's 2022-2023 All-Staff Test Security and Integrity Training. Although this training primarily highlights information for test administrators and proctors, all school staff must complete test security training to ensure that they are aware of test security procedures and requirements. This awareness will be helpful in the event that staff are asked to engage in activities that could be a violation, or if staff observe a need to report a violation. This slide shares the agenda for the topics that will be covered during this training. Please take a moment to review the variety of topics that will be covered. The first topic for today's training is Key Test Security Resources. There are several key test security documents. Documents and resources related to test security that are listed on this slide have been updated for the new school year. Please carefully review these important documents and contact your school test coordinator or corporation test coordinator with any questions. Next, we will discuss various roles and responsibilities with statewide assessments. Test administrators must hold an instructional, administrative, or school services license granted by IDOE. Staff with an emergency Indiana license in one of these three areas or a transition to teaching permit can also serve as TAs. TAs play a critical role in testing. As such, it is important to be aware of the responsibilities associated with this role. A checklist was developed to assist TAs with understanding the various tasks for which they are responsible. The Assessment User Roles and Responsibilities Checklist is available in the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual, Appendix H, on the assessment website. The diagram on the left-hand side of this slide summarizes a few of the key test security responsibility areas for test administrators. TAs must do the following: complete all applicable test administration, test security, and test accommodations trainings, review test administrators' manuals and the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual prior to testing, monitor students during testing, follow security regulations for pickup and return of secure assessment materials for online and/or paper and pencil testing, accounting for all secure assessment materials before, during, and after testing. And finally, TAs must immediately report to the school test coordinator any missing assessment materials, interruptions, invalidations, test irregularities, or security concerns. TAs should review the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual, Assessment User Roles and Responsibilities Checklist, and TAMS for more details regarding their responsibilities. School staff that do not hold an appropriate license, like teachers' aides, support staff, or substitute teachers, may only serve as proctors, not TAs. Unlicensed personnel cannot supervise testing without a TA being present. As outlined on the right-hand side of this slide, proctors also have key responsibilities related to testing. While some of these responsibilities are shared here, additional responsibilities are outlined in detail throughout the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual. Please be sure to review this resource for more information. There are several things that CTCs and/or STCs will need to review, verify, or reinforce before, during, and after testing. All school staff must receive test security training, sign the Indiana Testing Security and Integrity Agreement, and review the test security-related documents referenced in the Integrity Agreement on an annual basis. Although some of these staff members may not have direct contact with testing materials, it is important that they receive test security training to ensure they are aware of procedures and requirements in the event they observe and need to report a violation or are asked to engage in activities that could be a violation. Cafeteria staff may receive a modified, shorter test security training that is incorporated into an already scheduled staff contractor meeting. Bus drivers do not need to complete test security training or sign the integrity agreement. In addition to the fall all-staff test security training, TAs and proctors must complete several other trainings prior to each assessment window. iLearn, iAM, and iRead3 TAs must complete a TA certification course in Cambium's system prior to testing annually. Please note that the iAM TA certification course is separate and different from the courses for the other programs. All TA certifications must be valid as of the time of testing. TAs cannot sign in to administer tests under another TA certification credentials, as this would put students' tests at risk of invalidation. WIDA TAs must successfully complete the training courses that correspond with the WIDA assessments they are responsible for administering. See the WIDA assessment guidance for details. Additionally, WIDA test coordinators are required to successfully complete the Online Access for ELL's administration training course, as it covers a variety of test coordinator tasks. College Board test coordinators will receive an email notification for themselves and proctors to complete online training through their College Board professional account. Mandatory training includes SAT coordinator training, College Board test information distribution training, and proctor training. Coordinator and TIDE training is mandatory for each school's SAT coordinator and backup coordinator. Proctor training is mandatory for all educators serving as proctors per IDOE policy. Proctors must provide STCs with a copy of their certificate of completion. There are also local trainings that must be completed. TAs and proctors must complete test administration, accommodations, and refresher test security training provided by their CTC or STC prior to each assessment window. Before testing, TAs must communicate test security protocols with students in order to prevent potential invalidations due to violations. A few of these communication topics are listed on this slide. For example, students should be reminded that they cannot do the following: discuss, rephrase, or paraphrase test questions or materials in person, by phone, via email, texting, or social media, or any other communication method with anyone, including, but not limited to, other students. Access cell phones, smartwatches, or any other unauthorized device during testing. Or take pictures, snapshots, or videos of any test materials, practice or operational. Please review the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual for more details. Section 6, Part B, Number 1. Monitoring is required by IDOE during all statewide assessments. TAs and proctors must continually monitor students during testing. Consequently, it is important that they give test administration their full attention. It is not acceptable for TAs and/or proctors to leave students unsupervised for any amount of time, to concentrate on other tasks or materials, or to otherwise ignore what is happening. TAs and proctors need to walk around the testing room actively monitoring students throughout test sessions. Students must be monitored to ensure they follow instructions, do not exchange answers with others, do not interfere with or distract others, and use only allowable materials and devices. Please review the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual for more details. Section 6, Part C, Number 5. CTCs and STCs, or their designees, also have monitoring responsibilities during testing. CTCs, STCs, or designees must monitor testing rooms during testing to ensure TAs and proctors are adhering to test administration and test security protocols with fidelity. This slide includes some key things CTCs and STCs should monitor. Please review Section 6, Part C, Number 6, in the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual for more detail. IDOE conducts on-site and online monitoring visits during assessment windows. The purpose of IDOE monitoring is to ensure schools are appropriately implementing test administration and test security protocols. Schools are identified for monitoring based on previously submitted test irregularities, test security concerns, failure of a CTC to complete required training by designated deadlines, failure to return secure test materials by required deadlines, data forensic analysis concerns, and a random sample derived from Indiana demographic data. Please be sure to review Section 2 in the Indiana Assessments Policy Manual, as well as the Assessment Monitoring Checklist in Appendix B for more details. There are a number of things staff may mistakenly or intentionally do during testing that are considered inappropriate actions. CTCs need to inform STCs. They must remind staff it is not appropriate to take the actions that are listed on this slide. One additional note that should be mentioned is related to the coaching text at the bottom of the slide. Even if a TA or proctor does not provide the correct answer to a student, but provides tips, refers to prior lessons completed or classroom examples, or shares that an answer is incorrect, this is coaching and is not appropriate. CTCs need to also inform STCs. They must remind staff it is not appropriate to implement the actions listed on this slide. If a concern arises regarding the functionality of a test item, pause the test, document the time if applicable, and contact your STC or CTC. During such communication, you should only refer to the item by sharing the assessment name, grade level, content area, session, section, or segment number and item number. Never email, text, photograph, video, or post a copy of the item, a paraphrased item, or answer choices, not even to IDOE or a vendor. The STC or CTC will then notify IDOE or the testing vendor if warranted based on the concern. Discussing test items before, during, or after testing is not appropriate. Test items are not to be discussed unless and until the items are released on the website. As such, CTCs and STCs should ensure staff understand the following. Reviewing test questions with students is not acceptable until or unless IDOE releases the items by posting them on the website, and discussing, videoing, texting, photographing, emailing, or posting actual or paraphrased test questions is not acceptable until or unless IDOE releases the items by posting them on the website. A testing irregularity is any unexpected event that significantly disrupts the testing environment of one or more students. You must immediately report irregularities to the CTC or STC. CTCs and STCs must then immediately report irregularities to IDOE. Common irregularities that were reported to IDOE that should be avoided this year include TAs not administering the operational test with the correct script or manual. CTCs and STCs need to ensure TAs have the proper manuals and scripts prior to testing, specifically the iRead3 Secure script. TAs need to confirm access to and review the appropriate manual prior to testing. TA error when starting or approving tests. This typically occurred when TAs did not verify they were approving the correct test for students before allowing students to proceed. TAs need to make sure they are starting or assigning the correct test. We saw many TIRs where the TA accidentally approved a PT test when they meant to approve a CAT. In some cases, the PT had to be invalidated due to the time students spent in the test prior to the TA realizing the error. Students and staff with cell phones or other electronic devices in the testing room. When STCs are conducting local test administration training with staff, they should remind TAs that cell phones, iPods, smartwatches, etc. are not allowed in the testing room. Schools should make an additional effort to inform students about the seriousness of invalidations and the repercussions for students and schools when tests are invalidated. Perhaps schools could establish consequences on the local level for students who fail to comply with this expectation. Accommodations not being updated prior to testing. When STCs are conducting local accommodations training, they should review how TAs can verify before testing that students will receive the appropriate accommodations and the need to ensure they receive those accommodations during testing. Lastly, TAs should contact their STC for guidance on test irregularities as soon as possible rather than notifying STCs days or weeks after irregularities have occurred. Late notification to the STC and subsequently the IDOE can lead to invalidations that could have been avoided had follow-up been more prompt. All concerns regarding test security violations must be immediately reported to the CTC and STC, immediately reported by CTCs or STCs to IDOE. Waiting until after the assessment window is closed to report test security concerns is not appropriate. Failing to report a test security concern immediately to the CTC, STC, and/or IDOE is in and of itself a test security violation. Finally, test security violations must be investigated by appropriate corporation staff. This slide shares common test security violations that were reported to IDOE that should be avoided this year. Let's discuss the first two violations listed on this slide: sharing test information electronically or via discussions with others, and inappropriate use or access to cell phones. This includes TAs and students talking to, emailing, or texting others about secure test content, as well as students posting pictures or videos of secure test content to social media and using cell phones during testing. Remember, it is not appropriate for staff or students to review, discuss, video, text, post, photograph, or email actual or paraphrased test questions or content. In addition, TAs and proctors will need to enforce local protocols for collecting and removing cell phones or other unallowable devices from the room before testing begins. Another common violation reported to IDOE was coaching. Remember, it is not appropriate to do the following: indicate in any way that an answer choice is correct or incorrect, should be reconsidered, or should be checked. Answer students' factual questions regarding test items or vocabulary, or say, do, or write anything on the board that is not explicitly described in manuals. The last common violation reported to IDOE is related to missing or late return of secure test materials. Be sure to follow the appropriate protocols for documented pickup and return of secure materials back to the STC. This concludes this year's all-staff test security training. It is essential for all school staff to be familiar with appropriate assessment test security protocols. If you have questions about any local test security guidance or practices, please contact your CTC or STC in advance to minimize potential violations. Contact the Indiana Department of Education's Office of Student Assessment with any additional questions. Thank you for reviewing this training. On behalf of the Indiana Department of Education, we wish you a successful school year.